Hi, welcome to the Whitey White Guy Show. I'm Whitey. On this channel, we do movie reviews and retro video game gameplay and whatnot, some unboxing, celebrity news, stuff like that. And I just rewatched a film I'd seen before called The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's got Robert Duvall has a role in this. Is Dr. Weir. Tony Goldwyn plays, who's a fantastic actor. They both do good jobs here. He plays the villain. A guy I'm a fan of. Let me make sure I get this right. Is in this. Rodney Roland is in this. Terry Crews is in this. Wendy Crewson, Sarah Winter with a W in there, and then Michael Rooker and Michael Rappaport have roles in this film. No one's, with except for Tony Godwin, no one's really bringing their A game, but these are some solid performances. Robert Duvall always gives a good performance, of course. And then Schwarzenegger's in this. We'll get to that. The premise here is this takes place in the near future from 2000 when it came out, so about now. And what's interesting is it's that they have developed human cloning. They can make human clones. So if you die that day, they can pump out a clone, and they have the sync cording thing where you put the thing in your eyes and your consciousness is transferred into your memories, at least. Is transferred into your clone. And so Arnold Schwarzenegger plays the lead. He's like a aircraft pilot for different new technology aircraft, and he's flying around the CEO of the company. But there are these radicals, as they're referred to in the film, who don't like the cloning thing. And it's not just human clones, it's all the new types of technology that they got. And what's one of the good things about this film is now 20 years later, how much they got right. How much this film does resemble. That's a net. Get rid of those. So they have like genetically modified, at one point, a banana. Like there's a normal banana, and then there's like a nacho cheese flavored banana. And at one point they mentioned how, aquatic life was dying off, and they brought back genetically modified fish, so, and plants, so they can combat starvation. But the downside is clones, human clones. And, human clones, like, they go over the laws of things, like they don't have rights. Even though they really create your clone, that damn net, you're dead. So you're legally dead. And then there's a whole thing. The question asked is like, okay, you died. You have a clone, yeah, but you're still dead. So the clone has your memories, but is that really you? And so there's some really interesting ethical and moral debates in this film. And so whoever wrote the screenplay wrote it's an interesting story. It's an interesting themes and concepts that, of course, they then brought in Schwarzenegger, and this has a very Total Recall film from that 80s classic. So instead of it being a thought-provoking sci-fi, it's dumbed down into an action shoot 'em up by the end of the film. But it's still, there's some interesting concepts there and some good performances. Schwarzenegger's in this, and the logic is understandable. He's still a big box office draw in 2000 when this comes out. If Schwarzenegger's in a movie, a lot of people are going to come to see this film. But Rodney Roland, I always forget this guy's name. I love this actor. Rodney Roland. He has a small role in this. He was in a TV show called Space Above and Beyond. I'm a fan of this guy, and I'm like, he should have been the lead, not playing this little small part. So you have the CEO of this company, run by Tony Goldwyn, who does a good job as an actor here. It's an interesting character. And then he has 4 henchmen who are basically assassins. And so at the beginning of the film, there's a football game, like NFL football, and there's a guy named Johnny Phoenix. He gets tackled wrong, it breaks his neck. I don't think it didn't kill him, but he's going to be paralyzed, and they've got like $100 million contract with this guy. So what do? They take him in the hospital, and then Michael Rooker, who's the primary henchman in charge of this crew of 3 other people, and they go and take the body away, clone him and then replace him with a clone. And so there's a news report. It's like, it looked really scary for Johnny Phoenix. However, it turns out it was only a minor injury, and he'll start this week. And so that's what they do. So, somebody's dying of cancer, they clone you. And, there's going to be a lot of money in this because who wants to die from cancer? So people have money, they'll go in advance and do the sync cord thing. So that's available. So if you get killed suddenly, they can, they got your DNA, they got your memories and stuff. They'll put that into your clone. So again, that's some fertile soil for a good story. Then there's Schwarzenegger. Everybody else in this, Terry Crews, everybody's doing a fine job as an actor for what their character is supposed to be. Michael Rooker does a good job here. Robert Duvall plays the unwitting scientist. So they're killing people who get in their way. The bad guys, the big CEO of the company. Robert Duvall doesn't know that. And then what they do is they put genetic flaws, I forget how they phrase it, into the clone. So the clone, after 3 or 5 years or something, if the clone doesn't play along with their game plan, Robert Duvall's wife dies, they clone her, but the clone has cystic fibrosis. So it's like, play along or you're going to die from that cystic fibrosis. Pay us big buku money to keep you alive, basically. And so it becomes this very nefarious plot, and they're trying to get the Senate to pass a bill to make this legal, the cloning thing. Meanwhile, at the time, it's under wraps. These clones aren't supposed to exist. So at one point, this radical who hates what they're doing with the cloning kills the CEO, kills a pilot and all this stuff. It was supposed to be Schwarzenegger on that helicopter, but instead Michael Rappaport took his place. So everybody involved got killed, including the CEO. And so they clone them all to cover up the murder, because the CEO, he already died. It's his clone. But clones don't have rights. Clones can't own businesses. So if word of his death gets out, they're ruined. And so they cloned everybody to cover up the murder, thinking Schwarzenegger was on the helicopter when he wasn't. So now he's got a clone, and they're after his family to cover up what's happened here. He doesn't know any of this, and get very Total Recall-esque. He gets caught up in the middle of everything, and from there it's a shoot him out as he tries to outrun the bad guys and find out what's really going on here. So that's all really interesting stuff, and the big problem is Schwarzenegger isn't Total Recall, Predator, sexy, muscular Schwarzenegger. And you when he's punching the crap out of guys and he breaks into sex and throws them over the table. You're like, wow, that looks great. 1980s Schwarzenegger. Well, this is 2000 Schwarzenegger. And so he's having trouble running upstairs. He's just old. And I hate to say it because it's Schwarzenegger, and he's never been a good actor. He's got charm, he's got charisma. So in Predator, have him sitting there holding that big honking rifle, and have him with this intense look on his face, and he's like, Billy, get me out of this hole. And it's like, if you take away the physique and that charisma and just the sexiness, it's just a crappy actor sitting there. And that's what you're left with the sixth day. He's not a good actor. There's a few scenes where he's got to be intense, and he's got to. It's like, okay, but then they always try to make him more comedic than he is. He doesn't have great comedic timing, and when he plays the emotional scenes and stuff, he's like, "You need to protect my family." It's like I love my wife and little girl, and it's like, it's just okay. So he kind of makes the movie and breaks the movie at the same time. It's like, I just don't buy you. So they do try to, there's one line where ultimately he's going to meet his clone, which, spoilers, he's the clone. Oh, the other guy's the real guy. But they're cracking jokes at each other. And the one guy's like, he's got this arm thing where you can control the helicopter off your arm. And so the clone says, he's like, can you, or the guy says to the clone, he's like, can you fly this? And he's like, yes. And he hands him his gun. It's like, it's good because your shooting was crap, or something like that. And it's like, that's pretty good. He's saying that to himself, basically. And when he's a normal guy, he's trying to, like, work on his house or something. And he's like, I saw your carpentry work. You are not a good carpenter. And it's like, okay. But that's not going to hold the movie. So that's basically it, the sixth day. And the clones work together. The actual guy and the clone try to, work together to save the family and defeat the bad guys. And they do. It's coming. The one caveat initially was like, did Michael Rooker's character get killed, or is he just knocked unconscious? And then they blow up the whole building. Oh, I guess he's dead. And then you have all these henchmen coming after him, like they've got the cure to the disease or something. And it's like, your boss just died. Do you give a shit? Like, you're unemployed, bro. Go fill out a resume. Stop shooting at Schwarzenegger. So it's a 50-50. Some of this is actually pretty good. The idea is pretty good. Some of the scenes, the interactions, when it's not, when Schwarzenegger isn't in the scene, this movie's pretty good. And then Schwarzenegger comes around the corner, you're like, this is just not good. So the film was panned. I was looking at the money on the numbers on Wikipedia, and they said it was a bomb, and it kind of was, but it made money, but they spent like $86 million to make $96 million or something like that. This is understandably just not a well-liked film, but it's one of those, it does just have a bit of je ne sais quoi to it. So when Tony Goldwyn and Robert Duvall are in scenes together, those are good scenes. It's well written, well acted. These are good actors. Robert freaking Duvall. Are you serious right now? Michael Rappaport does a good job in this film. Not great, but good. It's early Michael Rappaport, and he's a talented guy. Again, Rodney Reynolds. I'm not going to remember any of the women's name, to be honest. Terry Crews is in this. He's just a muscular henchman, but he does fine. For his first outing, not bad. It's just seriously Schwarzenegger. So I'm watching this going, man, get Rodney Reynolds in there and have him be the lead, and this would be 10 times a better film. And he'd done sci-fi stuff before. It's like, so he has this small little role, and that thing should have not, I must have come unplugged, because, god damn it, I turned the automatic turn off thing off. So yeah, it's just, 1980s Arnold, this would have been much better, but old man Arnold, it just doesn't, the adventure's just not as much fun. His acting isn't getting any better. It's actually gotten worse. And I hate to say it because I love the guy. He's trying to, his hardest to get this done right, and he just doesn't have it. So, still though, the sixth day, it's pros and cons, but there's some pros there. So if you're feeling frosty, check this movie out. It's worth a viewing. It's worth your hour and a half. There's just moments that are just cringe, and you're just like, So there's one point where the bad guy clone and the bad guy clone, Schwarzenegger's fighting them both, and they end up falling on top of each other. One guy's laying on top of the other guy, unconscious, and he's like, when I told you to screw yourself, I didn't mean you to literally. And I'm just like, oh. And some people, it's like the best part of the film. It's like, no. So yeah, I wish they'd gotten a different lead. Tony Goldwyn could have handled this fine as the lead. Rodney Reynolds could have been the lead. There's a mountain of dudes could have pulled this off, and it would have been a better film. And it just, Schwarzenegger stuck his dick in it and broke it. That's basically what happened here to what is an otherwise interesting story. The effects are a little hit and miss, but 20 years later, given where there's a few, I wouldn't mind them remaking this because there's good film. He'll get a better actor in there. But 2000, the effects just weren't there. Some shots hold up really well, some shots don't. When the main bad guy's falling through the glass in the ceiling and he hits the ground, that last shot was clearly a mannequin. It's like, that is not a living a now dead person. It's too stiff. You can tell. But some other shots, it's like, hey, 20 years later, that held up really good. Some of the editing technique and stuff. So it's pros and cons. It's worth a viewing, but don't go into it with high expectations. So, Whitey the White Guy Show, thanks for being here. If you're still watching, like and subscribe, all that stuff, you know what to do. I got 200 movie reviews like this. Check them out. And some retro video game play. I got a Xbox 360 up there with some Nintendo and stuff. I'm surrounded by stuff. Ooh, look at that shot. Good job there. I don't see any porno or nothing. Alright. So, thanks for being here, and I'll see you guys on the next one. And I'm going to kill this gnat. Cheers.